So if you watch my breakdown of game one between Verona and Lube Civitanova in the Italian LegaVolley semifinals, you'll know that I was very, very impressed with Verona's offense. I thought it was so dominant and so clean throughout. And I mean, the numbers back that up as well. They had almost a 60% first ball side out rate. And that means that when they're receiving the serve, 60% of the time, they're scoring on that very first attack. So today, I'm going to do a breakdown of their first ball side out from that match, just to show you how good and how layered this offense actually is. Now, Verona is one of the best offenses in volleyball this season, bar none, right? Micah Christensen runs it. They've got powerhouses like Nomori Keita, Darlin Souza, and of course, Rock Mosic. But the way that Micah runs this offense just shows how much in his bag he is this season and how he's really showing up for one of his best seasons of all time. So I'm going to make my way through rotation by rotation, inside out throughout the match, just showing you the different layers and the different options that they use throughout this match. I'm going to start in rotation 2 because that's where the match starts. And then I'm going to go back to rotation 1 and then go 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's a few things to recognize when you're looking at Verona's offense. A lot of their offense, surprisingly enough, is actually based off of how they run their middles or how they run up the middle of the court. And a lot of this is because they want to be able to create separation for their hitters on the outside, right? A lot of their volume goes to their best 3 outside hitters, and they want to make sure that those guys are seeing one-on-ones as many times as possible. Michael wants to give his hitters like Keita and Darlin as much space as possible to be able to swing away and score. And in this game, they did that a lot. So as they're doing this, there's a few rules that I've kind of noticed as they're running it. Now, their middles don't do anything too fancy. They just run a 51 or a 31. The 51 is when they're going straight at the setter. The 31 is when they're running a bit of a gap where it's kind of in between the middle and the left side. Generally speaking, whenever they're running the 51 at the setter, is because they want to freeze the middle and push that ball to the outside, right? So you're going to see the middles go run straight at the setter, and then he's going to set it fast out to the outside. While the middles are running the 51, the pipe is either going to run right off the left shoulder of the middle attacker in that second tempo hit, or they're going to be running back behind Micah's back, right? So there's the two different pipe variations that we're going to see when the middles are running the 51. When Micah is letting the middles run the 31, generally he doesn't set the ball, especially to the left side. He doesn't look for that overload. Instead, he's really looking to free up the pipe. So he's going to run the 31 and then set that back set or set it right up in the middle while creating that space opening up for the pipe ball to come through the middle. As with any offense, and if you're a young setter there, if you're just learning the game as a setter, you should recognize that all elite setters have some type of processing. So there's their first option or first layer, right? This is in a perfect pass situation when you have all of your hitters available. What is everyone doing in everything is single one of these scenarios? And you'll see in every time Micah is perfectly in system, every hitter has a job, and that changes based off of what the middle does, right? The middle is the first tempo offense. So that's the first person that you kind of prioritize. Then there's the second layer where it's kind of a medium pass. Now, generally, the medium passes, Micah he's going to go to the outside mostly, but especially if it's kind of just a step off the net, kind of closer to that one side, he loves going fast to the right side. Or if he's pushed over to 4, then he's going to try to reverse that flow and bring it back to the right side, that fastball to Darlin. And then, of course, there's the third option or the third layer. That's when you're completely out of system. And very rarely does he go to Darlin in out of system or, fling it up into the middle of the pipe. Then he's just going to go high ball to the outside. So it's clear that, Mosic and Keita are the high balls to the outside. So we're going to see how their offense progresses through the match and how they make adjustments to the different changes of personnel or things that are happening on the court throughout the match. And you'll see early on that Micah really likes to establish the middle, okay? And not necessarily establishing the middle in terms of establishing the middle attackers, which, he did fantastically in this match. Both middle attackers combined were 9 for 9, 100% swinging in this match. But he generally likes to establish the middle of the court through the pipe. We're going to see that right away in the first play of the match, which was simultaneously a banger. Now, it's a pass by Keita. And so just as like I said, you've got the middle hitter, running in front of him. Keita's on the outside. Darlin's on the outside. And especially because he's pushed a little bit past center here, we're going to have Mozic come up the middle. Okay, now this first ball is dug by Balasso very nicely, but you just see the space that Mozic has to swing away on. Now, I'm not going to watch through any of the points, but this first point was a banger. I thought it was going to set the tone for the match, and I mean, it did. Actually watching this match back, I thought it was a little bit better than it was going to be. Very next play, once again, Botolo continues to serve at Mozic, and this is going to be one of the few times here that Micah doesn't reverse it back to Darlin in this situation. I think it's honestly because he sees these two middle blockers just giving up that space for Keita on the outside. And a big swing as Lepke is late on the block. Moving forward now, a little bit later in the set, it's now 12-7. Botolo continues to hit it right down the middle to Staffarini. And this is that third layer. He's completely out of system, so he's just going high ball out to the outside. This one, to me, is just poor blocking, unfortunately, by my guy, Eric Lepke. Look how much space he has down the line. Keita, one of the best scorers in the world, is going to be able to take that every single time. Serve there to Keita this time. And once again, this is that pipe set that we saw a little bit earlier. Okay. Zingle coming in. You're going to see that Zingle is actually coming in now for that 31. And we know this because Verona doesn't center their middles, right? Sometimes, depending on the team, you want your middles to always reset in the middle. Verona doesn't do that. When they want their middles to hit the 31, they have them set up over here, kind of in between 3 and 4. This creates just that mismatch because this middle here has to be aware of what this guy's doing, but they're also watching for this first ball here. And that's kind of exactly what happens. Micah is just setting that right into this gap. Obviously, Nikolov's already going outside to Darlin. Lepke's already going outside to Keita. And Mozic is way open down here in the gap. It's a good read from Gargiulo. That was one of the unfortunate errors by Nikolov that kind of gave this set to Verona. Now, Botolo did not serve that well in this match, so we don't get this rotation really again until the third set. And now some things have changed a little bit for Lube as well, too, because you have Santiago Orduno now setting for Lube instead of Mattia Bonifante, which actually does make a difference, as we'll see a little bit throughout this. But this one's just another easy pass there by Staffarini, and that's that 31 gap set that we're seeing to Aiden Zingle. And Zingle was 6 for 6 in this match and was just outstanding. We'll see as we come through. Once again, there's that separation. This time, Mozic is coming right up the middle in front of Micah. So they've made that slight adjustment, especially because the 2 times that we saw him run the pipe, Gargiulo was able to get hands on it. This is one where Gargiulo is just caught watching. He's looking at his hands. Zingle's already in the air. I mean, that ball is already gone. Just such good awareness to know what the middle on the other side of the net is doing. So now we're back in rotation 1, and this is one of the problem rotations for Verona because Mattia Bonifante actually causes them a bunch of grief serving at mostly Mozic. You don't actually get that many good looks because it's generally going to be a third option scenario for Verona, but we're going to run through them. This is one where this is exactly what I had said, that second option earlier, where that second level pass is coming in and he's just going to reverse that flow all the way back, especially where Gargiulo is fronting Micah at this moment. There's way more space for him to go back than there is for him to go to the left, obviously because Lube is prioritizing Keita in this situation. And now Gargiulo does do a pretty good job, but there was a pretty good seam there, and it turns out to be good. Once again, these early points, all in favor of Lube, and then the game just changes quite a bit. Because Bonifante is such a good server and really causes them problems, this is one of the few serves and receives where we actually see some good offense out of Verona in this rotation. This is going to be that classic where they're running Vitelli right at the center. You've got Mozic coming in around the back, and Micah is looking to throw that ball to the outside, right? He's looking to keep Gargiulo in the middle and create some separation for one of his outside hitters, and that's exactly what he sees as he's going to draw that one back to Darlin, and they're going to finally get out of that rotation. Moving forward to the next set, you'll see that things have changed now for Lube because Orduna has come in, and now Orduna has a slightly different serve too. He's going to be serving that floater compared to the spin serve of Boniface, and this actually allows Mozic to come in on a different angle, right? Because he's passed that ball here, he doesn't have time to make it all the way around. So instead, he's just going to stay and run that back pipe instead. But you still have Vitelli coming in front of Micah as well. And that's exactly it, where Mozic has come in. And on the very next play, you'll see that they actually switch things up. Because it's a float serve, Staffarini is going to be able to come into that ball, and Mozic is going to switch up the angle of his approach and come around and be on the left shoulder of Vitelli. And that's going to open some things up because Gargiulo has to stay in the middle with Mozic and Vitelli here. And it's just a one-on-one OT for Keita. Beautifully done. Same thing now, but same rotation, but of course, Orduna has gone from serving in 5 to now serving in 1, and Orduna just loves going down the rail, going after the serve receiver who's on the sideline, and that's exactly what he's going to do here, and it's going to be the same case. We're going to see Vitelli go right to the 51 at Micah, Mozic go up the middle, and then he's going to dish it down the backside to Darlin. No, that wasn't it. This is the one where he does it. Of course, he gets the ace first, and then that's exactly that situation where he's going to dish that fastball back to Darlin. It doesn't convert for Verona at that time, but it's still the same concept. They're still sticking with the same concept. We're on to the third set, and this is one where Keita, he loves taking the ball with his hands and then loading up right away for the swing, especially in the next rotation as we're going to see. But once again, you've got Vitelli coming straight at the middle, Mozic coming up right in behind him too, and this is one that's just going to be the give and go. Mike is going to give it right back to Keita, just opening everything up. A few points later, full rotation later, this is where they actually switch some things up, right? They actually switch up what is happening with their middle blocker. So you're going to see Vitelli is going to go up the gap on that 31. This is only a few plays after we saw Zingle run that 31 a little bit earlier. So they've established that, right? They've established that threat. He's going to give it up the pipe to Mozic. And I honestly think that at this point, this is a play designed to get Mozic a touch on the ball and have him be successful with a swing out of the pipe, because we haven't really seen that in this match. There's been getting a lot of touches on it, but this is one where Mike is completely able to isolate them, and he just crushes it out of the middle. And what's more impressive too is Gargiulo actually reads that perfectly, and his hands are going the right way, and Mozic is able to go underneath him and then through the legs of Orduna for a big strong point. And as we wrap things up here, Boniface is back on, and this is where they've gone back to their standard offense with Vitelli just running that 51. And this is that set that Micah loves to make. He loves making that off the shoulder right side ball to Darlin into space to be able to give it to him quickly. And Darlin just goes to town, thumb down, and block out. Rotation 3 is the one that is the most impressive. It is technically a trouble rotation for Verona because you've got everyone stacked over here. Darlin is on the back, and you've got Micah in the front row. But this is the rotation that developed just so much intrigue and really toyed with Lube's blockers all match long. Now, it is similar, of course, to the first rotation that we saw when Botolo was serving out of the middle with Keita in the front row. However, the big difference of this is that you've got Gargiulo serving, who hits a float serve as opposed to the spin serve of Botolo. And now on that float serve, notice how much room Staffarini is taking here. He's almost taking half that court. Mozic has a little bit, and then just this little bit here for Keita is what they're doing. What Lube is going to try to do, especially in this rotation, is take Keita out of the equation, right? They want to be able to serve him high to his hands. And now he's actually, in my opinion, there's definitely early in the season, he was better at passing spin serves with his forearms than he was passing float serves with his forearms. So obviously when you have that trouble, the fixes to move up and to be able to take any float serves with his hands. And that's exactly what we see here from Verona. So they're going to try to take him out of the play. Now, what is genius of what they're going to do is generally when you step up, it makes it really hard to take those steps outside and make yourself available on the outside. So we're going to see what they do to combat that. And this is going to be a short pass here from Keita. He actually steps in front of Mozic, and instead of trying to get to the outside, he's just going to run down the middle. This ball is going to be a little lower and faster than he wants it to be. So Micah is going to adjust and just pop it up a little bit higher, basically for a meter ball, which is for Keita, kind of in between a quick and a traditional meter ball. But this pattern is something we're going to see throughout the rest of the game because, this is not something you see very often where the left side hitter is going to be hitting in the middle. You've already got Zingle up there for the 31. So Dahir is kind of being like, what's going on here? Lepke's caught looking. Mozic is coming in on the back, and then you've got Darlin on the C ball as well there too. So on the next play, it is going to be slightly different. So in this situation, when Gargiulo serves that ball down the rail, that's when Keita just goes outside and it's just going to be normal. This one is one that Micah has to save, so he's just going to pop it up in that C ball for Darlin as he's trying to save that ball. And on the very next play, this is where Micah, showing a little bit of his creativity / just trying to save that ball, adds another layer to show that, like, hey, I'm here too, puts it down on the dump. Later in the match, this is going to be another one. And that one is going to be a low pass. And now so many people see this and I remember watching it in real time. The Discord was going off. People in the chat were going off because, wow, what a set from Micah. And now remember, they were down 19-14 and then they were able to tie it up at 22-22 there with that set. But I honestly think, as amazing as this is, he had it in his head that he was going to set the middle on this play. Because why else would you force it, right? Otherwise, you're just going to use your forearm and go outside to Keita. Because why else would you force this ball and pop it up to Zingle in that way? And it's because you're definitely trying to establish that, hey, Zingle is an option here in this rotation. Their first ball in the second set was run to absolute perfection. This is one that should be studied. This is honestly the play that you and your buddies, you and your friends are practicing during high school season to try to open some things up, just to try to get some different looks. And you'll see, beautifully done by Keita, gets that nice high pass, and man, look at that. Mirror images, just twins as he's coming in for that first tempo ball. Dahir obviously has to go up with him, and Zingle is left all alone, and Lepke's just kind of left looking around like, what just happened? That is so beautifully done there by Micah Christensen, with such a fun, creative play to be able to speed up their offense in a tough rotation. So now Gargiulo is actually going to go back over to the one side here to just give a little bit of a different look, go after Staffarini, and surprisingly enough, that has been one that has worked out quite well for that. And once again, Micah, whenever he's in this position here, he loves that set to Darlin. Just that really fast set. Darlin is so explosive that he can keep it low. You don't have to jack it up for him. You can keep that ball low and just let him swing away. And that's the exact same thing, right? Off pass there by Staffarini on that float serve by Gargiulo. Micah takes one step to the back and off, and he's just going to set that ball to Darlin and give him a little bit more space down the line. We'll see here, pass to Staffarini. That's when Keita is going to make his move outside, and Zingle on that same line, still going to run that 31 because then it opens up things for Mozic in the middle. But just a wonderful set here by Micah to Aiden Zingle, and just shows the confidence he has in him, because Podestadin is actually doing a pretty good job of being in front of him, but he's caught looking. Zingle's already up. It's done for him. It's done. Just the speed and the accuracy of that set just opens everything up here for Verona. Now, this is the only one Lube actually got a handle on here in this rotation. You'll see Gargiulo is back to serving in 5, and he's going to go after Keita. And Lube actually reads this one perfectly because they know that set is coming, and they know they want to give that ball to Keita, right? They've gone to Zingle. They've gone to Keita to the high ball. Hell, Micah is tipped that one. What I really like is this over here is Mozic faking that A ball, because if he just stands in the middle, then everyone knows he's not a threat. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to see Micah set Mozic down on the A ball, but it's still fun to see him do. And that's a really good read there by Nikolov to jump into the gap and read that play perfectly. But what I love most about this very next play, they go back and do the exact same thing. Micah with that one-handed set. It's really too bad for Lube because they read it decently. It just squeaks through the hands there of Kukartsev. But that's how much confidence Micah has in running that system, that he says, hey, even if they read it, we know we're going to get you more times than you're going to be able to get us. And now finally, to close out the match, this is going to be, once again, that situation where Micah, I said that's that second layer, right? Micah in a bit of a two pass, he's going to be off. Instead of giving that ball long, which is that long angle, this is a much better set for him to make. It's a lot faster. And this is one of the reasons why Darlin has been so deadly this year, is that play right there. So moving on now to rotation 4. And this is one that we actually don't have that much data on because Lepke missed so many damn serves. You're going to see, as I said before, Micah really loves establishing that middle early on in the match. And remember, that first set of the game was down the middle. That's exactly what we're going to see here. It is a good pass here from Staffarini. You know, we've got Zingle coming down the middle. You've got Mozic and Darlin on the outside, but this ball is actually going to go to Keita off of his left shoulder to be able to establish that middle of the court and get Keita an early swing out of the pipe. Now, moving on to the second set. Once again, it's going to be early in the set. Micah's going to be looking to establish that middle, and he gives it to Aiden Zingle, right? On that 51, one of the few rare times that he actually gives it to one of the middles just straight up in the 51. Now, part of it, too, is because he knows he's going to be able to get that one-on-one because he's got Nikolov fronting Keita in this situation, but it also just shows the confidence that he has in Aiden Zingle to be able to score. And I mean, why not? He was 6 for 6 in this match. Now in this rotation, we're actually going to see they really change up the game plan a little bit, because the big difference here is you have Orduna in the front row. And now Orduna isn't that much shorter than Boniface, but he's a lot worse of a blocker than Boniface. So this isn't the situation where in serve receive, but especially in transition, not that we're going to go over it today, Micah just starts feeding the left side, because no matter if you've got Keita there or if you've got Mozic, it's going to be a mismatch. And that, honestly, if you're a young setter, mismatches are so important. If you've got one of your best and tallest hitters on the left side and they've got a short setter, feed him. Let him climb that ladder and go OT. And that's exactly what we're going to see over the course of the next number of points and the next number of rotations, because these are the rotations here where Orduna is in that front row. Orduna is still in there, and this one is one of the rare ones that they're going to go to the right side. But once again, it's as I talked about earlier, you've got the middle coming up for the 51 and Keita running up off of his left shoulder to be able to open some things up for Darlin. And that's one of those few scenarios where, you know, Micah is off the net and he's just going to go outside. And once again, it's because of who's in front of him in Orduna. And Mozic can just go OT over Orduna on there. And unfortunately, he's in the net, which was tough for Lube at this point of the match. All right, now on to rotation 5. And, you know, much like Lepke's rotation, this is going to be Nikolov's rotation where he's at the baseline. We're not actually going to get that much out of it just because Nikolov didn't put that many serves in. But it's going to be another rotation where for a lot of it, they're going to try to open some things up for the middle in Keita and get the ball outside to Mozic. It's going to be an off pass. It's going to be dumped up. Once again, just that high ball situation when you're in trouble. You know, now it's 31-31, so Nikolov is missing all of those serves in between. And, you know, once again, you've got Vitelli coming in. Keita, especially because Micah is on this side of 3, they really don't want, like where Vitelli is, they're not going to try to run Keita over here because they don't want that overload. So past a certain point, they're going to keep him coming back on the backhand side, and it's just going to be the set outside to Mozic, and that is a tough one there for Lube's defense. They probably should have got that. So now we're into the set 2, and we're going to see Micah kind of switch some things up a little bit. Vitelli is going to stay, which means that he's going to be coming in on that 31 angle, and we're going to see Dahir make that step. That little step outside right there is what gives Micah all the information he needs. He's looking right there as Dahir is making that step, and he goes, oh yeah, you're done. You're done, because he knows he's so far away, and he's able to go give it back on the right side. And all of that separation, you've got 1, 2, 3 attackers on this side of the court. Once again, Verona is going to go for that separation, so that's where he's going to go back. Execution wasn't quite there, but they ended up getting the point anyways. Later on now in the second set, as a rule of thumb, as a setter, if that ball's coming from behind you, you're generally not going to dish it back on the right side. If it's going to come behind you, it's hard to make that set back straight up, so you're going to go outside, and that's exactly what they do here. Ball's coming from behind him. You've got this time it's Nedeljkovic coming up the middle, Mozic coming in beside him, and it's just going to be that quick outside to Mozic. So actually it was Bonisoli, coming up beside him. It's also hard to see who it is with their matching blonde hair. Now on to rotation 6. This is about Dahir and then Podeshanin as well as they're serving. And now Dahir is a very good server. He actually had 2 aces just before this to help create that separation for Lube. As I was talking about earlier, when Verona wants to run that 31, they just have them stay and then approach straight. Be like almost out of eyesight for Lube's middles. This is going to be one where Vitelli actually moves over to front that 51 to come on straight so that they can open up the set to the outside. So there's a little dribbler. Vitelli gets into position. He's here. You've got Keita running off of that back shoulder, and it opens up for the guys on the outside. And Micah's just going to dish it to the outside to get that one-on-one there for Mozic. And a few plays later, this is going to go to that second option where, once again, all of these guys in here, Micah is a little bit in front, so he wants to go fast to the back on the outside just to create that separation, reverse the flow a little bit. Good block there by Nikolov. Once again, it's early in this match, but that's one that they are usually successful on later on. Early on in the second set. Now, Dahir has generally been going after Staffarini or Mozic in this scenario. So Keita and Staffarini actually aren't going to switch. And once again, that's because they want to see Keita come up the middle. And so that's why we're going to see Vitelli run that 31. So Dahir is actually going to go after Mozic. It's actually a perfect pass. You've got Vitelli coming in on that 31, Mozic right behind him, and Keita is going to come up the middle. This is a situation where, once again, Micah is aware of what this middle blocker is doing. He's aware that Keita is the priority here. Keita swung on a pipe ball not too long before this, and they're going to dish it outside on that 31 to Vitelli because no one's paying him any mind. And he's got the 1-on-0 to swing on the entire court. That's where, the layers of that offense work so well because of Micah's awareness, right? He's watching those middle blockers in that situation to be like, my first option is that I want to run Keita, but if they're going to stick on Keita, then I'm going to go 31 in that situation. Now it's Podeshanin in serving, so a little bit of an easier serve. And this is one of the few situations where we see Micah actually go to the outside when he's pulled over and creates that little bit of overload. But we know why. It's because Orduna is there, right? So he doesn't really care about the system at that point. The mismatch is what precedes that. So even though he could easily reverse this back, he's got all of this space here. He's got 3 attackers. You got both blockers in this zone. He knows he has the mismatch, and he's going to be advantage for Mozic 90% of the time when he's hitting up against Orduna. Now, Bonifonte is back in this match. And once again, this is a situation where all 3 of the blockers are here. Gargiulo is right in front of Keita, and no one is watching Vitelli. No one is watching Vitelli, and look how late Gargiulo is on that ball. Mike is so aware of it and dishes it into the open man. This is honestly where you're really seeing that a setter is really like the quarterback. Now, a quarterback, they're going to be in that pocket way more higher percent of the time than a setter, right? Because they're getting that ball handed right to them. So there's way less margin of error than in passing. But in a perfect situation like this, when Micah is right in 2.5, it's all about that awareness of what that defense is doing. Obviously, his number one option is to be able to go to Keita. But if his man is covering him, then just look for the open man. And it's obviously Vitelli in this situation. So now moving forward, this is just another one of like, hey, I don't really care about the system. I'm just going for the mismatch. There's all of their guys in that one area, and he's just going right after Ortuna because, once again, there's that mismatch. On this play, they've switched up what is going on with the middle. The middle is no longer running that 31. He's going to be going straight on the 51, and they're just going to give it to the pipe. Honestly, one of the reasons why I think they wanted to do this is Gargiulo's first step here is to his right. Ball is clearly not going to the outsides just because of the angle, and Gargiulo's first instinct in this situation as that ball is being set is to step over. And then he gets caught, and Keita has all the room in the world. That's about it. That's the 3 layers of Verona's offense that are, pretty simple when you look at it. It's all based off of where the middle is going and the priorities there, but it has to be made with such quick decisions, and those communications need to be happening every single time. It can be a situation too where Micah is just communicating with that middle, being like, hey, you're going to be running the 1, or you're going to be running the shoot or the 3, or whatever you're going to call it. And that is going to tell the rest of the team kind of what is happening in that situation. This is honestly why I think this team has been so damn good. This has been Micah Christensen's MO for a long time. He plays that system ball, maybe even too much to his detriment sometimes you just need to feed the hot hand and he's going to spread that ball out. But that's why Keita and Darlin were 2 and 3 in scoring in the league this year. And that's why this team has been so damn good in offense all season long.